Hey, welcome to Road Testament. I'm Mike Spinelli. JF Musial's here today.
You got my name right, thank you.
I did because you pronounce it wrong, dude. You pronounce it Musial. Musial? I'm telling you do pronounce it wrong. I don't know
Tell me how my name is wrong.
I don't know who told you how to pronounce your name. At Drive on Twitter is where you can subscribe, and we can send you stuff, including questions like the one we asked today, related to your show called Driven.
Mm-hmm. What was the question you posed?
The question was, if you could go behind the scenes at any sports car or motorsports factory, shop, etc.,
what would it be?
What would it be?
And that's kind of what we're doing. That leads to Driven, which
exactly.
is, Driven. The entire concept of Driven was developed around, interesting people, interesting stories in the automotive industry that you don't ordinarily see or hear about. Mm-hmm. And from the abilities of the access we get, I always thought it would be fascinating to see to show those things that people will never get to see, that no manufacturer would want to put out necessarily as its own piece, but we can. So.
Well, it's also the ultimate nerd show.
Yeah.
So, if you enjoy nerding out on how things are made, which, a lot of our audience does, and I do. If you don't, then maybe...
It's like that Discovery Channel show, How It's Made. Whatever.
Yes.
I love watching that show, and that's kind of like or Build It Bigger on Discovery Channel. Like all those shows, it's kind of the same concept.
Exactly. And just to prove we have tons of nerds in our audience, we asked that question, if you could go behind the scenes at any motorsports or sports car maker, which would it be? We got a lot of answers, a lot of Ferraris, a lot of Lamborghinis. You've already been to Lamborghini in an earlier show.
Yeah. Pagani was this week.
A lot of Paganis.
We also did my good friend Mark, who it's not necessarily a car manufacturer, but it's an interesting story. So it's also about the people. The Lamborghini story was about Balboni.
Right.
So.
Also Koenigsegg, which we'll talk about soon because you did go there.
Yep, we went to Ängelholm, Sweden.
Exactly.
Part of that trip, yeah.
And a lot of Formula One teams. So let's see what people answered when we asked that question. Morgan, a lot of Morgans. A lot of people want to see how those cars are made, how the ash wood frames are made and stuff.
And funny enough, we are doing this, but on a Live and Let Drive episode for season 2 of Live and Let Drive.
Because Alex Roy, as we mentioned on a previous Road Testament, is buying a Morgan 3-wheel.
He's very good friends with Charles Morgan.
Yeah.
So we're going to the UK, actually in a few weeks for season 3, which launches in July. And Alex is going to go to Morgan, and Chris Harris is going to join on for that trip. So
cool.
That's going to be a whole onslaught of shows from Live and Let Drive.
Awesome. Other than Morgan, we've got ProDrive.
I would love to go to ProDrive.
ProDrive, the motorsports technology company. By Dave, is that Dave Richards from ProDrive? Also builds Aston Martin's race cars.
Yeah.
I would love to see what's behind the scenes at ProDrive.
Yeah.
I think that
good suggestion, Dave from ProDrive.
Dave from ProDrive. Making of the Ariel Atom V8, the Hartley V8 in the Ariel Atom would be so cool. The Hayabusa motors squished together and sharing.
It's also a reference to the Veyron SS, Veyron in France.
The Super Sport,
Bugatti,
268 mile per hour.
Yeah.
That would be cool to see.
What else?
Also, Porsche
actually, coming up next week is Porsche Classic. So if you ever want to see 8 959s in the same room, well, that's the episode we have next week.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
All right, so perfect lead in.
Yep.
Toyota Hybrid. You got to be kind of an engineering nerd to see how that's.
I think it's cool, especially with their. If we wouldn't be able to get in there before Le Mans this year, but it'd be interesting to see how that program progresses.
Yeah, I love the idea that technology and motorsports are coming together like that. A lot of people aren't so happy about hybrids in motorsports, but if it's faster and better, it's cool.
Thank you, Christopher.
Also, Super GT and Le Mans 2 for Nissan. That'd be cool.
Oh, God, yeah.
But again...
Red Bull Racing in Austria?
Red Bull... Everybody wants to see behind the doors of Formula One.
Yeah.
And this is cool.
Newey's in the UK. Go to Newey's. Yeah, okay.
A close-up of Adrian Newey's workspace. Who doesn't want to see what Adrian Newey's working on if you're a Formula One fan?
He must have the most interesting desk in the world. In fact, he probably works from home, knowing who he is. But
I think he works from a hot tub somewhere.
Because he has a lot of he loves the aviation industry.
Yeah.
And, my comment before, he probably makes everything out of grains of rice.
Right.
Just because
he's just a giant Zen garden. He just kind of just rakes it.
It would be very interesting, especially to see his notebook that he takes with him.
Well, I just picture it as like the Da Vinci Codex. Just looking at Adrian Newey's notebooks. Just all this amazing aerodynamic stuff. Even though that's probably not how.
all done on computers now too. So next.
Not so much napkins. Also, Mercedes GP F1.
That'd be cool in the UK, yeah.
Kurt says, I'd like to see how a team that struggled in the past reconnects with Mercedes' storied history in F1. That's kind of interesting. I mean, that's more of a narrative to kind of get back to winning.
Yeah. Silver arrows and everything.
Silver arrows and all that stuff, yes.
Thank you, Kurt. Next.
Porsche and Audi Team Yost. Le Mans, but anyway, yeah, I mean, just like F1, who wouldn't want to see behind the scenes of what Le Mans is doing?
And we kind of did something with Audi through Shakedown down at Sebring during their hybrid testing.
Right.
And hopefully with Le Mans this year, we'll get a lot more details on that. And Porsche in the next few years is going to be developing their LMP program.
So we actually might.
Yeah, that could be something bigger and better. Thank you, Eric. And
Nissan,
Delta Wing.
The progress of the Delta Wing.
They don't like us. They don't like Leo.
I don't know. I don't know if Leo's sold completely on the Le Mans prototype Delta Wing.
I'm guilty by association with Leo.
Well, yeah. Well, we'll see how. Who's driving it? Marino
Franchitti.
Yeah. Marino Franchitti is going to be driving that in Le Mans this year. We'll see. I mean, I don't know how. The back is this wide, the front is this wide. It looks like a dragster. How's that going to handle? Apparently very well, says Delta Wing.
I saw it do 6 laps during the whole day at the Sebring test days. So.
Really?
Yeah, it can move.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, do you have any footage? You don't have any footage of that.
Of course we do.
You want to show it?
Right here.
There you go.
Next.
So, and last, Clark Thomas would love to drive the Fiat roof track, the old Fiat test track in Turin.
There's a photo of it, right?
Yeah, we actually have a photo, yeah.
I would love to do that, but...
Top Gear was here. They don't actually use it for testing anymore, I don't think, but it is a tourist attraction. Yeah, I mean, you could go there and hang out. I don't know if you could bring your car up there. That would be kind of cool.
That would be very cool, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, those are great suggestions, and hopefully we can get access.
I mean, you have.
We got
other
very
seasons.
lucky with what we got this season.
Yes.
Very lucky, and it took a lot of effort. I started working on this stuff, getting into Pagani, getting into. We went through a lot of places, but it started actually in December of last year.
Well, let's talk about this season.
Yeah.
Right? So you've already been to. Well, you did your first show about photography.
Yes,
right?
with my good friend Mark. Mark, we went to Denver with a Carrera GTS Porsche and just had fun.
So that was the part of the show that's about individuals.
Individuals with interesting stories in the automotive industry.
Right. And so when you went to Lamborghini, the individual you were talking about was Valentino
Had to
Balboni.
be Balboni.
Right,
yeah,
exactly.
We almost didn't get him. Interesting story there. We showed up and they said he was on vacation. And
isn't every day a vacation?
I was thinking that, and I'm like, I just came all the way from the U.S. to interview Balboni, and you're telling me he's not here? Eventually, they called him up. He was actually, 2 miles down the road at his house. So that was good. Luckily, we got him.
But the cool thing about that is, leave it to Italy. Balboni was a kid back in the late '60s.
Yeah.
Right. Was hanging around Sant'Agata. Was like that's the town where
Lamborghini is. Yeah.
Was just a kid in town. He
was on his way to a football soccer game, and his friends. He told his friend, "Just drop me off. I want to go look at those cars." It was the Miura shells coming off a truck.
Man.
And he just helped some guys push the shells into the factory. And some security guard gave him a bunch of crap about why are you doing here? And then, by the way, there's an application. We need people.
Right. Get out of here, but go fill out an application. The sort of randomness of the guard, like tell him to F off and then come back, and then he becomes their test driver.
Exactly.
Just sort of, I mean, and not that long after that, he started driving the cars.
By the way, he's only had one job his entire life. Lamborghini.
Right.
That's awesome. So we went to Pagani, which was 15 minutes away from Lamborghini, and the connection there is that Horatio actually worked for Lamborghini.
Right.
The LM002 SUV Lamborghini produced, Horatio Pagani designed the interior.
You're kidding. I didn't know he did that one, because the LM002 is one of my favorite useless, crazy vehicles.
So there is a connection, and when I went to Pagani, I just asked as many questions as I could off camera.
Right.
And when we went there, it was awesome. I was like, usually we go to these places, what can we film, what can we not film? And Pagani was like, film it. everything.
Wow.
There's a new car that's not even been revealed yet. We didn't show it entirely, but they're like, don't worry about it. It's okay.
Yeah.
And I just kept I asked as many questions as I could. I want to learn as much as I can because you read articles about the place. The Speed Hunters did an awesome photo gallery of the place. There were so many questions that came to mind. I just remembered I have to ask these questions so that when I went on camera and told the story of what I have just learned, it was fresh in my mind. It was something that was new to me that I needed to tell and convey that story.
Well, you know, one thing that strikes me about Pagani is that he's in, you know, supercar gulch, right? Like there's Ferrari, there's Lamborghini. I mean, these
all
are legendary names.
All 25 minutes apart from each other, yeah.
Legendary names. He comes out of Argentina
Yeah.
and builds a car with just as much personality as a Ferrari Lamborghini, or at least has its own...
It's a whole new level,
has its own idiosyncrasies that make it a very personal car.
Yeah.
And just an awesome sound. German V8, obviously, it's got the AMG, not V8, V12.
12, yeah.
V12. The interesting thing about Pagani is that it doesn't seem like they have any intentions to go down market. They've got a niche.
Yeah.
They've got their very, very super high-end cars that they build, literally race cars for the street.
Yeah.
Do they have any plans to build an SUV or anything crazy?
I can
like
tell
that?
you, I didn't see any of those plans. I don't know, but I think that they're very happy with what they're doing. But if you look at what they've done the past 10 years, they have their special editions. I think at this point they're moving to a new factory.
Yeah.
They're going to double their production.
Yeah.
And of course, after the 250 units of the Wire are complete, I'm sure they're already working on the next iteration, the Roadster, whatever it may be.
Well, I mean, I hope they kind of stay in that. 'Cause it would be good to see a company not have to branch out into things that they're not the best at, or at least compromise. I mean, because that's the thing that we always bitch about. That once companies start compromising on certain things to sell more cars or to approach a different market or do something else, we as car nuts get bitchy when they do that. If they never have to do that, if they never have to compromise on the cars that they're making, and they're always making really super fast cars for the street that are basically race cars, then there shouldn't be a problem with us.
I don't think you have anything to worry about that. And the fact that it's a family-held company, I don't think that they're going to have any influence pushing them to do something else.
Well, that's good. So next, those are the shows that we've seen that you've done.
Yeah. What's next?
What's next?
Porsche Classic next week, which is a lot of people don't know about Porsche Classic, but it's an arm of Porsche where if you've got anything older than I think it's 1992, you can actually send it back to the factory, and some of the people who built the car on the assembly line are actually restoring those cars in modern day. And so, for example, the 959s. That's a perfect example. There's something like 8 or 9 959s and under one roof in Porsche Classic, which is outside of Stuttgart-Zuffenhausen. You have this small building that just all these guys work on these cars, restore them, clean them up, and then ship them out.
That's a very cool job.
Yeah.
Did you talk to the guys that actually do it?
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Because that is, if you, other than getting a job building Ferraris, say, I mean, that's on the top 10 list of cool car jobs.
Yeah.
So this maybe should be.
It's cool.
It's
cool. Yeah.
You know,
and it's interesting to see. So there are 959s there from Ohio to Dubai to Hong Kong. Like from around the world, these cars go out, are sold. They come back to the motherland and then go back out. It's very cool to see that connection. Right. You know, most car companies are in the mindset of we sell new cars. That's our business.
Yeah.
But for Porsche, it's like no. Our history is important.
So Porsche, where else?
You've got the list. I've kind of forgot. McLaren.
All right, no, and I was going to mention McLaren because that's another one that when we threw it out to the drive audience on Twitter,
everyone said go to McLaren.
A lot of people said
well,
McLaren
we went
too.
to Woking and we went to the MTC and we went inside the new production facility of the MP412C, which is a clean room. It's awesome. And I got to tell you, we went to MTC, and of course, McLaren is not just, it's McLaren Automotive, McLaren Electronics, McLaren Racing.
Right.
So there are all these different arms underneath the McLaren brand in that same building. So McLaren Electronics does the ECUs for NASCAR, IndyCar, and all these other places. McLaren Racing is, of course, Formula One, and McLaren Automotive is the the F1 and the MP412C and whatever they come in the future.
Yeah.
Right off the bat, I'll tell you, we couldn't get anywhere near the new F1 cars.
Okay. That was my next question.
Yes. Could not. We saw a lot of the old F1 cars, but it's an active workshop. Mm-hmm. So while we were there, we weren't able to film this, but while we were there, we were actually seeing them hand produce the new aero package that you'll see in Spain.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
cool.
Pretty cool that like we got to see it, and it's active that these guys are hand producing these front wing elements and the back wing elements of the current F1 cars, but
just I just imagine carbon fiber autoclaves.
Well, it's
left
like
and
it's
right.
like honeycomb, and then they lay the carbon over.
Yeah.
It's a lot of it is actually all of it is hand produced. Mm-hmm. So you will not see any of that, because if we did, we would be shot by this point. So it's only the
Ron Dennis would just come down with
Ron Dennis would murder
with
me
an M60 and just like
yeah.
Sorry, this is my imitation of an M60. I don't even know what is that. I don't know what does that even mean. Are those joysticks? No, wait. One more thing about McLaren. Yeah. Their top line car. Did you get any look at anything having to do with that?
No, but the spy shots just hit the web this week. Right. Of the F1 successor, and I don't think McLaren has at any point denied that the car is not coming. Mm-hmm. We did not get to see it.
Okay.
But I think what you will see from the footage inside the factory is that there's a lot of empty space in the production line.
Okay.
So that says a lot about what's about to come.
Okay, cool. So
next up is Koenigsegg. I'm reading your notes upside down.
Well, that's cool. Yeah. What tipped you off? The G's, the 7 G's in a row.
We went to Ängelholm, Sweden. I finally got that right. We went to go meet Christian von Koenigsegg on their airfield. What I learned, very interesting, is that the airfield that Koenigsegg is on is actually it's an old Air Force base, which actually a lot of the employees actually used to work at as Air Force employees. And now, as Sweden has decreased their need for an Air Force, these guys are working on the same base for Koenigsegg, the car manufacturer.
That's very cool.
So we got literally a tour with Christian von Koenigsegg around the entire facility.
So you're talking about aerodynamics, aerospace.
Yeah. So what they do there is they produce a lot of the elements there, minus the monocoque chassis. But the best part of Koenigsegg is that they live on a runway.
Right.
So
that's true.
So
just pull the car out and go 200 miles an hour.
We were shooting them and got rides alongs in some of their prototypes. So fastest I've ever been in a car, about 200 miles an hour on a foggy runway. So you'll see that.
So Christian von Koenigsegg, I hear, is a very cool,
awesome guy. He's so cool, and you're going to learn it's not necessarily only about his cars, but the patents he has on the cars. Very cool.
What kind of?
I think the motors in the Koenigsegg's are actually all built by Koenigsegg.
Well, that's
used to
the
be
thing.
Ford.
Well, right, because a lot of people still think it's the Ford modular V8.
It's a Koenigsegg V8.
Is it based somewhat on the Ford?
The new one, the old one used to be
right
with the CCX.
Yep.
That was an offspring, but the new one is completely Koenigsegg.
So the Agera R,
whatever.
Agera R.
They have a lot of patents on the engine technology and the ECU, which is actually probably more of they're probably making, off my opinion, I think they'll probably make more money off that than selling their own cars.
So as an applied electronics thing, selling that to other companies?
Well, just the patents, like licensing the patents, I think is really an interesting business model. And for Christian von Koenigsegg to start that company when he was 23 years old and do what he's done, and he's only like 35 at this point, out of this world.
And but he was successful, didn't he? He had some kind of software business, or
I think so. Yeah, initially
software?
Within the financial industry. He's a quant. He's smart.
He's a quant.
Yeah.
He's a black box guy.
Yeah,
very nice.
He's very smart.
And it shows. I mean, those cars are nuts.
Yes. Yeah, very nuts. Very cool.
So what else? You've got after that one.
Fisker, Mike. We got to drive the Karma.
Right.
We got to learn a lot about the Karma and about the technology. I think that Fisker, as an automotive company in America, is awesome. I think what they're doing is very good.
It's interesting.
And I'm very curious to see what happens with the Wilmington, Delaware plant.
Right.
I want to see how that evolves to become something much bigger as another big car manufacturer in America.
The thing that struck me about Fisker in the beginning was that the drivetrain technology was shared was by that
government.
was the company was it what was it called?
I don't know the details.
Millennium or but anyway
there was a connection to the U.S. government.
But they had developed that that hybrid drivetrain technology for Navy SEALs or Black Ops.
I don't know.
But as a vehicle for special forces to sneak into places and then sneak back out, because you could go in all electric and then come out.
Yeah, it's cool.
Come out blazing.
Some
if
cool
you have
stuff
to.
out there.
So again, I don't know how much of that technology they're still using, but eventually, I don't know whether.
I got to tell you, I love the Karma.
Yeah.
As a full package vehicle, it's very cool, and I think that will show. And then, for the most part, that's pretty much season one, with one or two other things in the pipeline I'm trying to work on. But season two, I like those suggestions.
So you still haven't finalized, so you can still probably get out to some of these places.
Well, certainly. It all comes down to access. You know, the first season was the hardest because there's no precedent.
Yeah.
You know, when I first started pitching these guys, drive what? Well, it's a show. It's a channel that doesn't exist yet. I promise you it will be good. That's what I have to go on.
Trust me. Try going around saying you work for Jalopnik in 2004. You know.
Jalopnik who?
That's jalopnik.com.
Which is part of Gawker what?
Yeah, nobody knew. No, but I mean, I know making those cold calls is tough. So where would you go? I mean, have you been to all the places that you would go, or is there any personally that you?
Ooh. There's certain things that I would love to see with. I want to get behind the scenes of some prototype testing. I would love to do that, like at the Nürburgring.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people know this, of course, with the spy shots that come out, but they're a mile down the road at the Nürburgring. There's like prototype village. It's like all the car manufacturers have their own offices.
Right.
You know, you'll see Aston Martin, Cadillac next to Porsche, Audi. And those are the engineers that are really developing the cars of the future.
Yeah.
Those are the guys who are actually driving these cars at the edge. You look at Walter Roll. I would love to do a story on him.
Yeah. You
know, he was the guy that really defined 20 years of Porsches in terms of the driving dynamics.
That's true, because he was a major test driver for Porsche.
He drove pretty much all the production cars. It's only up until like the 991 that he didn't. If you think about it. Yeah.
Walter Roll.
Yeah. I think that's it, though.
That's it. So anyway, we'll be looking forward to. Oh no, someone said KTM. Oh, that's right. We forgot this. That would be cool too.
Would
KTM.
Be awesome.
KTM in Austria would be a very cool place because they do the the crossbow is Dallara, right? Doesn't Dallara do the body?
Some part of that.
It does the chassis and then
the carbon fiber stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of cool manufacturers out there. And of course, the one problem is I don't want to step on too many toes. Like Tunes is aftermarket side, Tech Art, and all those guys.
So maybe send Matt Farah out there.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe he deserves it. So
cool. Hit us up at Drive on Twitter if you've got a place where you would want to go to see behind the scenes for nerdy or otherwise reasons with sports cars or motorsports. And that's it for Road Testament. JF
it's a long
Musial.
one.
It's a long one.
It was a long episode.
Well, you got the slider. You can make it longer or shorter, much as you like. Watch a little, watch a lot. Or wait a minute, it's the opposite. See ya.